Legend of Grimrock 2 is a first-person dungeon crawler in which you control a group of 4 adventurers, and is of course the sequel to Legend of Grimrock. Unlike the original title, the sequel has a lot of outdoor locations, in addition to the classic dungeon setting. On top of this, the game features an open world, resulting in a much less linear adventure. As with the first Grimrock, players are able to create their party, this time with a choice of 5 races and 8 classes as opposed to the previous 4 races and a measly 3 classes. The characters' portraits, stats, and traits are customizable. For the more hardcore folks, there's an old school mode which will remove the in-game map, encouraging the player to whip out some graph paper and draw it out themselves. Also, there are 2 other settings, one titled Iron Man mode, which removes the ability to save anywhere except for at the healing crystals. The other setting is called single-use crystals, which, as the name would imply, allows healing crystals to only be usable a single time per playthrough. Combine these settings and you will have a truly challenging game at your hands. The combat system for the most part is the same as its predecessor, controlling 4 characters simultaneously by clicking to attack. In the original, practically every enemy was abusable by dancing around them. The sequel addresses this problem superbly by making just about every enemy much more agile. If the player steps to an opponent's side, they will often react with an attack or dodge. Many locations are designed so the player will be forced to deal with multiple enemies at the same time, as well as fighting them in tight corridors. Also, each enemy type moves and acts differently. For example, mermen will leap 2 spaces when attacking, while frogs will jump behind you and strip you of your equipment. Magic is performed in a largely similar fashion, though instead of selecting specific runes, the player will instead draw a line composing of 9 runes. This time around, spells themselves are much more varied, with each school of magic feeling much more unique. In the first Grimrock, special attacks were automatically processed with a chance to occur. Now, special attacks are tied to specific weapons and are performed by holding down the attack button to charge up. These also take up energy. While the first Grimrock only had a boss at the absolute end of the game, Grimrock 2 features many bosses throughout the adventure. Each fight feels challenging enough, and the ones towards the end of the game will perfectly wrap up the experience. While the combat is great and is a huge step up, what really makes the game what it is are the puzzles. Even the most experienced puzzle solvers will find themselves questioning. The developers really outdid themselves in creating these, and it really makes the first title seem almost like a joke. Frustration isn't an issue either, thanks to the open world design. If the player finds themselves stuck, they can always venture to another location. As expected, there are tons of secrets hidden in the game, which will provide the party with loot when discovered. Some are found through simply locating a small button on a wall, while others require solving riddles, or cryptic messages that span throughout multiple locations. Overall, Legend of Grimrock 2 is one of the most improved sequels ever made. It took the original game and provided more of what was loved, while fine-tuning the exploration and combat system. Anyone who enjoyed the first game will find Grimrock 2 to be an absolute blast as well.